Mary is from, she's in Oregon, and Sunny Rose Berger is in northern San Fernando Valley. I think that's where you are. Anyway, I am very glad to be here, and I want to thank the JCC Chicago for allowing me to come and speak with you today. And this topic seems to really resonate with people, primarily because folks with a lot of clutter tend toward not really understanding why they have a lot of clutter. And I would say that if pressed, a lot of people would say one of two things: I don't know where to start, or I guess I'm lazy. And I don't believe in lazy. I really don't believe in lazy. I think that there are a lot of deeper underlying reasons why we tend to not act on our goal or our desire to clear the path and deal with the clutter or the chaos in our life. Well, I'm here to look at clutter in a very different way. My name is Regina Lark. I am a Los Angeles-based professional organizing company. We do senior move management. We pack and unpack hoarding remediation. We work with, we downsize estates. I will say, though, that the bulk of our clients are chronically disorganized. And one of the first things we declutter as we are packing them or getting them ready for the next thing in their life, one of the very first things we declutter are all the books they have on how to get organized. And those books were written for somebody with the way my brain is wired, and not with the wiring of the brain of the chronically disorganized person. And so I have availed myself to a great deal of training and education. I've earned certifications to work with people with ADHD, chronic disorganization, the hoarding disorder, and other brain-based conditions where chronic disorganization might come up. So I have 1 hour with all of you, and I am going to find a clock. It's 9:35. I'm going to be done at 10:30. So here we go. Hang on. Let's see. Okay. So what I'd like to do today is understand this relationship between emotional and the physical weight of the clutter. How do we help ourselves identify need, use versus want versus value? I mean, how do we know what it is that we're going to keep, right? We're going to analyze appropriate strategies for it shows clients to help you resolve your issues of too much stuff, and then how to maintain your cleared space. The two hardest parts, I think, for a lot of people about getting organized are the decision-making part. What are you going to let go of? Back up. If you have more stuff than you feel that will comfortably fit into your home, into your living environment, into your space, if you feel that there's too much, then the chances are really good that you're going to have to let go. I'm not calling it clutter. You're calling it clutter. So if it's too much, we've got to come up with some decisions about letting it go. And the other side of that is, how are we going to maintain our newly cleared space? Because clearing space, if this is a chronic condition, it's never one and done, never ever. And so we're going to talk about this decision making. We're going to talk about the maintenance. But first, I want to take you on a little journey about why we may have areas of our life that just feel totally out of control. And for me, it's all about the brain and how we're wired. And our brain can be a powerful tool or a staggering enemy. Our brain can uplift and elevate how we think about things just as easily as we can disparage and deny goodness that is all around. We tend to wear negative thinking as a protective armor. It shields us from doing the important work of transforming how we think about who we are and how we manage. And I think that resonates for a lot of people. I remember several years ago when I was coming into all of this, I was coming out of the shower, and when you get out of your shower, you're your most raw. I'm my most raw when I get out of the shower. And I remember looking in front of the mirror, getting out of the shower, looking in front of the mirror, and I started picking myself apart. I was noticing some lines on my face that I didn't think were there from the day before, and I'm disparaging myself. And I stopped. I had this moment of clarity, and I stopped. I said, Regina, why can't you just stand here in front of the mirror and go, hey, nice shoulders, and walk away? Why is my default the negative instead of the positive? So we wear the baggage of this armor of negative thinking in a couple of ways: how we think and what we have. And so I want to break that down for you. So there's external baggage of having more than we actually need. And how do we describe need? We have need of, to require, to be in need. It's necessary. And we all have our list of traditional needs: food, clothing, and shelter. And then we can bring it up a notch, and our needs can go to outside of food, clothing, and shelter, a really good charger. We need our mobile phone. Our list of needs can be great, or it can be minimal, but having clarity about what we need, I think, is very important, because then you step into the realm of our wants and our desires. So after we meet our basic needs, what are our wants and our desires? Clothes, gadgets, purses, shoes, books, better job, greater balance, awesome relationship, peaceful heart, lack of chaos. Oftentimes we don't know how to get to these wants and desires, and we tend to, we don't often know how to grant our desires, but we certainly know how to have our wants met. So the external baggage of stuff also relates and connects to the internal baggage of this negative thinking, or what my first business coach called head trash, and what I've come to identify as psychic debris. And my definition of psychic debris is the stuff in your head that tells you that you cannot do something, accomplish something, or be whatever you want. We tend to say, I am too old, young, fat, dumb, insecure. We've got all of this negative head trash that roams around in our brain, and we are hard pressed to know what the hell we're gonna do with all of that. And we don't question it, and we sort of rely on it on a lot of levels. So where do these emotional states about our lives live in our brain? And I'm going to give you a very layperson's description of how I understand our brain. And if you look at the bottom of the screen, you see the survival state, the brainstem. Am I safe? And we think of the brainstem as the place of flight or fight. So when the cave woman walks out of the cave and she sees this big, ugly, hairy dinosaur, well, I don't know if they were hairy, this big, ugly, frightening thing, the survival state is, holy hell, I gotta get out of here. Something here is not right. Something here is different. Without even identifying, it's big, the size differential, you just automatically know this is not typical. This is not what I'm supposed to be seeing. And our brain does a quick reaction. The survival state is the earliest part of the brain. It evolves into this emotional state and then our executive state. The emotional state, our limbic system, is where our emotions lie. Our limbic system is where we become distracted, where we become anxious. Our limbic state allows us to procrastinate. And what the limbic state is in conflict with is this executive state, or what researchers call the executive functions. And the executive state is the prefrontal lobe, and it guides us in terms of our relationship with time, our relationship with our emotions. It's what can I learn from this? It's logical, it's linear. We're able to sequence things in our executive state. We have a good relationship with time in our executive state. And often that I've seen, when people have a lot of clutter, they'll sit down and they're going to work on the box of papers. And they've cleared some time, they've cleared some space, they're going to work on the box of papers. They open the box with every intention of getting through the box, or at least part of the box. And they're very successful. The first 10 minutes, they're putting papers in to be filed, to be recycled, and to be shred. And 10 minutes of that, things are good. And then all of a sudden a paper comes up and it brings up some type of emotion. It could be a letter from a grandchild. It could be all kinds of things. It could be a bill that you forgot to pay because you couldn't find it. And when we come upon something that's going to grab us emotionally, it's as if the limbic system reached in and pulled back from our executive state. And now the limbic system is controlling the show. And we either spend a lot of time going down the rabbit hole of exploring and examining this paper, or feeling bad or sad or uplifted and elevated. And then we get up and we show the person, we show somebody, and our plan to empty the box of papers, might as well put the lid on it. And so as humankind developed, the executive state and the emotional state, from what I gather, tend to be in conflict with each other unless your executive state is very dominant. In my family of origin, there are 6 of us. 4 of us are like me, organized, neat, very linear in our thinking. We can plan, we can process. 4 of us are like me, and 2 of us need us. So my mom and my baby sister, late diagnosed ADHD, I've been decluttering them my whole life. And so as I've come to understand, and back up, and my mom and my sister, super smart, super creative, people persons. I mean, they're lovely, lovely women. But getting organized, staying organized is a challenge. All right, tiny bit about the brain. Where does this psychic debris come from? I would argue our environment, from our childhood. Some of us grew up in pretty funky households. Some of us grew up in homes where we weren't told we were wonderful or beautiful or bright, or that we could go to college. Some of us grew up in wonderful households where our parents uplifted and elevated us, but we were getting different messages from school. Our psychic debris comes from what we think we see when we look in the mirror. And what we think we see is often a comparative analysis. We compare ourselves to others. She's prettier. He's smarter. Look at me. Who's going to hire me at 60 years old? I look old. And so we tend to do this to ourselves, or we're influenced from our environment, and it becomes a default, and we don't know how to get away from it. Where does our stuff come from? Everybody has stuff. We have a variety of things that we either love or need. Some of our stuff we acquire on our own. Some were given to us by people from long ago that we loved and maybe we can't remember. And some stuff we have no clue where it came from. And I say that because I go into a lot of homes and the client will say, I don't know where I got that. I don't know who that belongs to. That isn't mine. So we all have stuff. When does stuff become clutter? In my opinion, it's clutter when it becomes homeless. We don't have a place for it. It becomes clutter when we're holding on to it even though it no longer serves us, or it becomes clutter when it's broken and useless in some way, but we know that we're going to fix it, but we don't have a date on the calendar for when we're going to have it fixed. So things that are broken, things we no longer use, or things that are lying around, at some point, we're going to start calling it clutter. And on another point, we're gonna not know what to do with it, and it just becomes habituated in our homes. Are there any questions, Hillary? I am not able to see. Please ask me any questions that you want throughout this. Okay, so when does clutter?
Sorry, excuse me.
Yeah.
Excuse me. If you're going to ask questions, please just type them in the chat box so that we'll get to them when there's a break appropriate. Thank you.
Thanks. So when does clutter in the head, under the bed, become our enemy? I would imagine that more than a couple of you are here on this Zoom call today because you may have some concerns about clutter. Usually when I do Declutter 101 or similar talks, it's a very self-directed group. So it becomes the enemy when negative thinking overwhelms, when our goals aren't met, when we're embarrassed to have people over. I have a number of older adults who are angry at their daughters because the grandkids can't come over anymore because there's a possibility of a trip and fall. We get made fun of. We don't know how to prioritize our time. So clutter becomes the enemy when we're not able to activate or do the things that we had intended to do. So connect the dots. The head trash. I'm too fat. What do we have around us? Makeup, weight loss products. I'm too insecure. What do we have around us? Designer bags, clothing, shoes, purses. I'm too young. I don't know enough. So if you were to look at the lousy thoughts in your head, the psychic debris or the head trash, and then look around you. And this is not a science, but see if you can connect the dots. What you say about yourself versus, or in juxtaposition to what it is that you have.
We do have a question.
Go ahead, please.
Just going back to slides, you said that you have clients whose children or grandchildren can't come over. Have you ever worked with the TV show Hoarding Buried Alive?
Sure. Yeah, I have. I happen to be a certified expert in working with people with hoarding disorder. So what I'd like you to do is to own these ideas, these concepts. You are not your stuff. Your clutter is a temporary reflection of where you stand right now. Clutter is the enemy. Head trash is not your friend. Easy, right? No. Our words do matter. And what the hell do we keep telling ourselves? When we invest in the status quo of head trash, we stick with the story. I'm lazy. I never do it right. I'm overwhelmed, lonely, old, angry, tired. We become the story. We live the story. We walk the story. And what I want you to do is recycle this head trash from useless to useful. I'm gonna put that over there. And then our things, how much do they really matter? We have an investment again in the status quo. What is the story behind our clutter? It's hard to get rid of. I may need it someday. I'll do it later. I'm supposed to keep it. I'm afraid to be without it. Who am I without it? That's pretty big. We don't even think of our stuff as clutter per se when it comes to, I'm going to give you an example. I finished, through the 90s, I was working on a PhD in US history, and I was teaching history of women's studies courses at various community colleges. Will someone please mute, because I'm hearing a dog. So through the 90s, I'm working on my dissertation, I'm teaching classes, and I had acquired 5 floor-to-ceiling bookcases, alphabetized by genre. I love them. I was proud of my books. I love being a resource to other graduate students. And I assumed that when you walked into my home office, the first thing out of your mind was, wow, someone smart must really occupy this space. I love my books. I thought my books said a hell of a lot about me. Well, by the end of the 90s, I finished my degree and I was no longer teaching. I had worked now. I was working as an academic administrator. So for all intents and purposes, the value of the books, for whatever they were brought in for, I was done with them. I didn't need them anymore. They allowed me to accomplish my goal. And I was grateful. But I didn't let them go because their value increased somehow. I was really drawn to the idea of you thinking that I'm smart. And I saw, and people would go in, did you read all these books? I was so impressed. And I loved that. Well, there came a time where I had to move out. I was breaking off a relationship and I was moving from a house into a one-bedroom apartment. And two things I know about myself. I will never pay for off-site storage and I don't like being inconvenienced. And I had to look at these books and I had this come to Regina meeting and I thought, okay, Regina, who are you without these books? I really had to think about that for a long time. And I came to recognize, still smart without the books. No one can take my degree away. And one of the things I really loved about the books is graduate students would call me and they say, do you have this book? I don't want to get it through the interlibrary loan. Do you have this book? Yes, I do. Swing around in my chair, put it in my book bag, have it on campus the next day. The thing I loved about the books is they allowed me to be a resource to other people. And I valued that. So when it came time to move, I had to think, okay, the books, their value is finished. I don't have to hold on to them. And I'm going to find another way to be a resource. And to that end, my segue, if you go to my website, aclearpath.net, you can see it on the bottom of every screen, on every slide. You can download a copy of back up. You can look under the recycle and resources page, and I have like 15 pages of where you can recycle and donate everything under the sun. And if you have places that you want me to know about, drop me an email and I will add it to my list. So I am a resource. I did manage to be a resource. I put my books on Craigslist. I advertised my books for sale on Craigslist, and a smart young graduate student from a local university in my fields of study came over and I filled her car till the tires were flat. She walked away with the best book collection that she could have possibly acquired in 2 hours. And I relieved myself the burden of the books, kept 5, became good friends with my library card. Now it's all about the Kindle. All right, so we've got head trash, we've got clutter. We need clarity, a clear home, a clear office, a clear mind. To get there requires a clear path, the name of my company. Clearing clutter can forge change in your life and can change change usually is a very unsettling prospect, and I want to encourage you to embrace the change. Next exit. And for me, I'm really glad Mary Justice is on this call because this kind of goes back to the origins of our relationship. I got introduced to Louise Hay, and Louise Hay was a practitioner, psychologist in the 80s, and she has a book called You Can Heal Your Life. And what I learned from Louise Hay was the art and practice of positive affirmations. And I offer this to you now. An affirmation is to state or assert positively. It's a form of meditation or repetition. It's a statement of the existence of truth, the existence or truth of something. So you see the little cartoon, I deserve to be loved. I have the power to change myself. I deserve to be happy and successful. And what we're going to do with affirmations is flip the switch. We're going to create a new way for the neurotransmitters in our brain to get redirected. The beauty of our brain is that we can change. The beauty of our brain is that we can think differently. So here are some that I want to share with you that in my mind's eye relate to our relationship with stuff in our head or under our bed. I choose to believe that it is easy to change a thought or a pattern. And one of the things that I learned in the Louise Hay book is that, I think it came from her book, when I've been in periods of crisis over my life, and I need to start changing my thinking, I will take an affirmation like this and write it out 10 times a day. I just will. I'd rather write it out 10 times a day than keep beating myself up over the head with all this negative stuff that runs through my head. Why not choose to believe that it is easy to change? Why not choose to write it down? There's all kinds of data that shows that writing something down versus reading it reinforces the patterns. Another affirmation, less is more. But I had more. All right. Okay. So positive affirmations, let me just, all right. I'm gonna get into some practices and techniques. So again, you gotta switch up your thinking here. All right, so here's what I've noticed. I've been, I started my company 11 years ago. I've been in hundreds of households. And I noticed that people are holding on to stuff for one of two reasons. One is they've got their hand in front of them. They're holding on to that which they may need someday. If I was in front of you, I would say, anybody holding on to things they may need someday? And everybody would raise their hand. The thing about that, and I think that's fine. You may need it someday. I get it. But identify someday. What does someday have to look like in order for this to be used? See if you can drill down a little bit. See if you can get to someday. I'm going to wear this coat the next time and you live in Florida, the next time it's 45 degrees in Florida. Whatever it is, someday, identify someday, because what happens is we hold on to things we think we may need someday. And without realizing it, that thought is followed by, because if I let it go and someday comes, something not good's gonna happen. It's as if we catastrophize what's gonna happen if we let it go and someday arrives. We can determine what someday is. If I don't use it by December 31st, 2020, I've decided that December 31st, 2020 will be someday, or the event. I have to have this event to use this crock pot. And if I don't have the event by December 31st, 2020, crock pot's gonna go. I wanna encourage you to follow that with, if I let the crock pot go, and the day after I let it go, I need it, what are you gonna do? How are you gonna substitute? What can you put in place that will be just as good? What is good enough? Does it have to be that thing? So what I see is people holding on to the future for that they may need someday, can identify someday and don't know what the terrible thing that's gonna happen if someday comes and you don't have it. What I see is that holding on to the future called someday, there's a fear of letting go. We're afraid of letting go of this unknown future. At the same time, we're holding on to things from the past, and I get that. I have a few things around my place. I could take you on a tour of my home and let you know why certain things are still here, because I have a relationship to things from my past. But if things from our past are causing clutter, we're still kind of afraid to let go of it. I gave a talk about this once, and a woman came up to me and she goes, oh, I totally get that whole thing about fear, but what do I do with my daughter's softball trophies? I'm so afraid of letting them go. And I'm like, there's that word. There's the word fear. So we're afraid of letting go of the past because sometimes the past we believe is a reflection. My bookcase, I built stories about the books. I'm a resource. I'm smart. You know, people think different things about me. The guy, I once worked with a guy, he goes, Regina, if I get rid of all of my concert t-shirts, how will anybody know I used to be cool? And so we have these stories about our past. When we're no longer working in the corporate setting, but we still have our suits, we see the suits as a reflection on who we used to be, instead of seeing the suits allowed us to move forward in our lives at a certain point. Now they're not needed anymore. And I think about my own doctoral library. Truly, I didn't need the books anymore. They served their purpose for me so well. I was so grateful for those books. And so there's a lot of flipping of the switch. There's a lot of changing your thinking about your relationship. So if we're holding on to things from the past that no longer serve us, and only we can decide that, we're afraid of letting go. And then we're holding on to the future. We're afraid of letting go of that which we may need someday. Guess what? You're living in the present in a cluster of clutter. You're allowing the fear of the future, of letting go of the future, and fear of letting go of the past dictate how you're living right now. Now, of course, not everybody is doing this, but I'm just giving you some food for thought. In my experience, a lot of people talk to me about, they use the word fear over and over again without even realizing it. So, something to think about. All right, so now, do we have any questions? I need a sip of water. We're good?
Yep, if you have any questions, please just type them into the chat box and I will make sure that Regina gets them.
Thank you. All right, so now I want to give you some strategies for how to clear your path, how to take on your own declutter projects. Knowing what you know about the brain, there's the prefrontal cortex of your brain that allows you to make a list, right? The limbic system of the brain will find a way to distract you from making that list. But I want you to make a list of all your cluttered spaces. Just give it a shot. If you have 5 junk drawers, list all 5, and then ask yourself, if it's junk, why am I putting it in a drawer? How to say that. And then prioritize areas that you want to clear first and next and so forth. And I want to add something important that I don't have on a slide. You're going to list all your cluttered spaces. Then you're going to prioritize. Just give it a shot. I'd love to get the garage done first. I really need to do my underwear drawer, whatever it is. Junk drawer. What I'd like you to do is, next to each thing that you want to declutter, I want you to guesstimate how much time you think it's going to take. Just throw out a number. It doesn't matter. Because what I've learned is this: a lot of people who are dealing with a lot of clutter are pretty clueless about how long it takes them to do anything. They tend to overestimate the amount of time, or they tend to underestimate the amount of time. So what I'd like you to do is list the places, see if you can prioritize, and then write down how much time you think it'll take. Then the next thing I'd like you to do is this. I want you to choose the most benign, unemotional, small space you can think of. And for a lot of people, it's the junk drawer. Okay. So now we're going to do the junk drawer. And let me see what the next slide shows. Okay. For all of your declutter sessions, you're going to want to follow these steps. So your junk drawer, you have put it on the calendar. You're going to work on your junk drawer on Friday morning at 9. Got to be that specific. And for all your declutter projects, you want to have all of the supplies you may need. And you also want to decide, what do you want that junk drawer to be? It's no longer going to be a junk drawer. Maybe it's a utility drawer. Maybe it's the drawer in the kitchen that you keep pens and papers and stamps and envelopes. Whatever you want it to be, it's no longer going to be the junk drawer. It's going to be the utility drawer. So it's on the calendar, and you've decided about the drawer, and you're going to get your supplies, and your supplies are going to be a trash can, a recycle bin, an old sheet or towel, and a timer, and a bowl of warm sudsy water. 9 o'clock, you're going to be in the kitchen. You're going to clear the counter of everything that's above the drawer, and you're going to lay down the old sheet or towel, and on one corner of this towel, you're going to put your bowl of warm sudsy water. To the left and the right, you've got your trash bucket, you've got your recycle bucket. You turn on the timer, and you've decided it's only going to take you 30 minutes to do your junk drawer. That's what you put down on your sheet. You hit the timer for 30 minutes, you pull the drawer out and dump it right onto the old sheet or towel. Just dump it. And in fact, any declutter project that you're going to do, you kind of have to start with the dump. So if you're going to do your clothes closet and you only have an hour, just take out a handful of clothes and put them on the made bed, or a bed with a old sheet on it. Let me say this about that. When you remove things from their natural habitat, you effectively remove it from its home. When it's in its home, it looks like it lives there. So if you were to open the junk drawer and start pawing through it and pulling stuff out, everything else that's in there looks like it belongs there, and it doesn't belong there because it's junk. So same thing with clothes. If you start going through your clothes while you're, yes, no, better would be to take out a bunch of hangers, lay them on the bed, get them away from the closet. So you've set your timer, you've got 30 minutes, you've dumped the drawer, and now you stand there and you start sorting out and trash and recycling. You're thinking, oh my gosh, why do I have so many Bed Bath & Beyond coupons? And let me say this about that. The more Bed Bath & Beyond coupons you hold on to, you're increasing the likelihood that you're going to overshop. You're going to buy more things than you actually need. Make a decision. Keep 5 Bed Bath & Beyond coupons because you know there's always going to be more coming through your mail. You're going to be startled by how crumbly rubber bands get and how sticky coins and keys could get. As soon as you come up with coins and keys, dump them into the bowl of warm sudsy water. Do not leave your workstation to find out what door the keys open. You're doing all of this work and you're looking at things, and 30 minutes have passed just like that. And you're like, wow, I can't believe it took me longer to do this than 30 minutes. Trust me, that is really, really good information, because now you know you need more time. If you can add more time to your junk drawer declutter session, stay there and finish the task. If not, throw everything back in the drawer and schedule it for another time. This is how you declutter, folks. There's no magic wand. It's tedious, time-consuming, boring, and sometimes repetitive. Put it on the calendar. You'll increase the likelihood for your success. For each hour spent on decluttering, you need an hour to reintegrate what you plan to keep. You've got sorting piles, donate, trash, keep. Often there's also another pile, not mine, belongs to my next door neighbor, been meaning to give it back pile. Again, remove everything from the space. And if this is challenging for you, ask a friend to help. It's just stuff. It's not a reflection on who you are. It's a reflection on how your brain is wired. It's a reflection on not really knowing how to start, but it's not a bad thing. And if you ask a friend for help, then help your friend. You may have seen this. This has been around for a long time. Let's see. SMART goals. Look, I'm for anything that might work. And so some people find SMART goals, the acronym SMART, specific. Identify your problem. What are your goals? What will you work on exactly? How much can and will you do? what do you want to accomplish? How much time? And again, keeping in mind that people with a lot of clutter tend to overestimate or underestimate the amount of time it takes to do something. So I want you to really pay attention, be mindful about the time that it's taking you and the time that you're devoting. If you're going to commit 4 hours to a task to declutter and sort, do that for 2 hours and then use the remaining 2 hours to put things away. Set a timer, calendar the event. When the shutdown happened 2.5 months ago, I had all kinds of questions. I had a lot of people asking me, how do we do this? Because now they're home and it's very hard. And my biggest suggestion for everybody, my first suggestion is whatever you take out and use that day, put it back. Super, I would say it's simple, but if you don't have the mindfulness or you're very easily distracted, it's not going to be that easy, but see if you can kind of lock that part in. Whatever you take out, put it back. And I know that if there's a lot of clutter happening right now, it may not be easy to put it back. For a lot of people, being organized means being able to take it out and put it back just as easily. And so just even today, just put it back when you're done. Help along the way, assessing your productivity and timeliness. A lot of folks have a really hard time prioritizing. And Stephen Covey died a couple of years ago, but he was the founder, the guru of time management in more contemporary terms. And he came up with this priority matrix. And he talks about urgent, not important, important. And you can find Covey's priority matrix on Google. And what I suggest to my clients is the night before or the day of, slap down a priority matrix using these 4 quadrants and add 1 or 2 items to each quadrant. So urgent, important would be to pay a bill, to meet a deadline. The not urgent, not important, take a walk. Look at Facebook. The reason why I suggest you add 1 or 2 items to each quadrant every day is that you will increase the likelihood that you will complete all quadrants. And you will feel that you are having a productive day. Now, I don't know if you're looking for a productive day, if you're looking to just declutter, but what I would do in these quadrants is I would add a couple of my declutter projects to these quadrants. Things that you want to work on once a day, once a week, once a month. Hell, give yourself a year to declutter your space. Why not? It doesn't have to happen overnight. In fact, it can happen overnight. But use this as a model to how to prioritize your projects. One of the reasons I've seen that people don't meet, if I was standing in front of a big audience, how many have a to-do list? Everybody would raise their hand. One of the reasons why our to-do lists never get to done is because there's too much stuff on it. There's too much stuff in a day that we think we're going to do. And none of the things include eating, going to the bathroom, taking a shower, getting dressed. I mean, all of those are part of our day. And so I'm an advocate of less is more. A couple of things in each quadrant. And then you will probably be able to complete those tasks. This is all right. I said earlier that we often don't know how long it takes us to do any task. And this is a task list that really speaks to our everyday tasks. Got nothing to do with clutter. In a pre-COVID world, we would put things on here that, you know, every day we wake up, we take a shower, we get dressed. I don't know that everyone's showering and getting dressed in COVID. Every day we have a place that we go to. Every day we have to prepare meals. We have to feed ourselves or others. And what, again, because we don't know how long it takes us to do stuff, here's a quick and dirty task list. So write down a task, estimate how long it takes you to do anything, and then time it. I could say unequivocally, it takes me 10 minutes to get in and out of the shower and do everything in the shower that I need to do. It takes me 10 minutes. Why does it take me 10 minutes? How do I know? I timed it. I could be out of the bathroom after shower. The whole thing can take me 20 minutes. Shower, hair, makeup, because I timed it. Because I'm a super busy person and I don't ever want to be late for stuff. So it was very important for me to know how long it took me to get my stuff together in the morning. And you know, I take a lot of walks in COVID, and I'm sometimes out there 2 hours a day on a big walk. I won't take the walk unless I have other things that I don't want to be late to. So, or I'll change it in some way. And so our relationship with time when it comes to clutter is pretty significant, and it's something that we really need to get a handle on. I can do all day, half day workshops just on our relationship with time. Decide what area you want to clear, who's going to help you, the date to do the work, and the time needed to complete the task. And this is all the front work. This is all about the declutter part. Now you've got to maintain it. And again, maintenance isn't easy. Maintenance takes a lot out of us, quite honestly, because it's daily vigilance. It is paying attention to what we're doing on any given day at any given moment until it becomes a habit. And honestly, since most of our clients are chronically disorganized, we talk a lot about the decisions, you know, holding on to the future, holding on to the past. We talk a lot about maintenance. And we have come to understand that a lot of our clients are having a hard time with the maintenance on their own. And so because the clutter because they feel so awful in their clutter, we've actually come up with maintenance packages. After the team leaves, 2 months later, what's going on in your space? How can we help you to maintain cleared space? And so some of our clients will purchase blocks of time so that their organizer comes back every month for 4 to 8 hours a month until the habits begin to shift, until they're able to get a handle on, you know, the clutter doesn't start in the house. The clutter starts outside the house before you bring it in. It's in your hand. And you've got to ask yourself, where is it going to live? It's got to have a home. So to maintain is to keep in existence or continuance, to keep in appropriate condition. And for me, it's to practice daily affirmations. And so I've made an acronym out of maintain: mind map, act now, inform, nurture, trust, advance, invest, and never. We're gonna speed through these. Envision your new space. What's it gonna look like? Have fun with it. Keep this visual in front of you at all times. I know a lot of folks will have Pinterest pages and they have beautiful spaces that they want to create. I want you to be realistic. If you're looking to have a beautiful space in pictures that you saw for a 3,000 square foot home and you live in 1,200 square feet, bring it down. You might not be able to get that big furniture into your place. So make a visual map of what you would like to see in your space. That's the M. Act now. When mail comes, open it. Act on each piece. Now, I know that that's not easy because you have to have the time built in. So when you go to retrieve your mail, make sure you have 10 minutes, 15 minutes on the other side of actually getting your mail so that you can sort, that you can go, make a beeline to the recycle reception, the recycle container, and sort your mail there. Don't bring it in unless you know where it's going to live. That idea of do it now, not later. When you come across something or it no longer serves you, and you're like, I don't know why I'm keeping that thing, remove it from the space, put it near the front door, put it in the trunk of your car. When negative emotions, when negative thoughts enter your head, act now. Write and repeat affirmations. The I in maintain is to inform others. If people want to give you a gift, tell them to donate to a charity or to your favorite restaurant. Ask for experiences, not things. Tell people close to you about your desire to minimize. If you need something from you, they will ask. And here's something I noticed too. We tend to want others to really like our stuff that we are going to give away or donate, and we will give them to other people that we know, and the people that we know and love are very kind, and they don't want to say, don't want it, and so they'll take it, and then your clutter becomes their clutter. And unless they really express, pardon me, a specific desire for that item, donate it. So many people have so much clutter that I'm an advocate of just getting it the hell out and then moving forward, be more thoughtful about your donations. But initially, because if we want our donation to go to, pardon me, to go to a particular person or charity, I think that's lovely. I really, really do. But often, from what I've seen, it's delaying getting it the hell out. If our goal is to be able to move about our space freely and clearly, then don't delay, remove it. And many of you may not agree with me, but I agree with me. No, learn to say no. If somebody wants to give you something, learn to say no. The only stuff that gets to live in my place, honestly, it has to feed me intellectually, it has to feed me aesthetically or emotionally, or it has to feed my tummy. It doesn't get to live with me unless it meets that criteria. My criteria, you can have your own. But if somebody gives me something, my mom has a long history of giving me really inappropriate gifts. I'm not a girly girl, I get a tea set. I don't cook, I get a garlic braid. I don't understand it. And so there came a time where I wasn't a very gracious gift receiver. I'm like, I don't need that. But what I've learned to do with people who give me appropriate gifts, I said, oh, thank you, that's lovely. And then I put it in the donation pile near my front door. Honestly, I always have a donation pile near my front door. So learn to say no to yourself or to others. Trust that there's nothing standing in your way to clear your own path, that whatever choices you make about what to hold on to and what to let go of, they're all right and good. And then in the words of my, if there was anybody, there's two people I always wanted to have dinner with, and they're both deceased. One is Eleanor Roosevelt, and the other one is Napoleon Hill. And I get conceive, believe, achieve from the late, great Napoleon Hill. Whatever the mind can conceive and believe, it can achieve. And I will say, if you're not dealing with, if you're struggling with brain-based conditions, from ADHD to depression to anxiety, conceive, believe, achieve maybe a bit more challenging. And I don't want anything that I say to sound super easy. Anybody can do it. I know that that's not true. But general principles can come into play here. The second A in maintain is to advance, move your projects forward, get them on the calendar. I think calendaring is one of the best ways I can think of that will allow you to increase the likelihood that you will succeed. Pardon me. One of the reasons why we're so successful with our clients, it's because it's on everybody's calendar. The ninja organizers show up on a Tuesday at 9. The client opens the door on Tuesday at 9. Everybody rolls up their sleeves and game on. Pass along your newfound tools to help your friends or family members in similar situations, and advance the notion that you can be cleared of clutter. Invest. Ask for help on the big projects. Chances are pretty good that you're not going to do your garage all by yourself for two reasons: lots of heavy lifting and lots of things that we call memories. Lots of stuff that remind us of the past. And I know plenty of people, my mother included. She'll go into the garage and she's going to open a box, and it's going to take her down memory lane. And before you know it, an hour has passed and she did not make her goal to work on a particular shelf. So ask for help. You need someone kind, loving, objective. You need someone to say, honey, that never looked good on you, let it go. You don't want anybody to say, that never looked good on you. Here, why don't you give it to me? Because I don't know if you can trust. I don't know if you can trust what they're saying. Remind people you love to support you in your goals. And also remind people, if they hear you talk head trash, ask them to gently remind you to reframe into something more positive. There's so much negative self-talk. I mean, I do a lot of professional business networking. Oh my gosh, it's 10:29, I gotta go, no more stories. Invest and never give up. Never give up, never stop believing, never stop yourself. And check it out, 10:30. Well, 10:30 LA time, I'm here in Los Angeles.
Yeah, we do have a couple of questions.
Great.
So that was fantastic. From Sunny, she says, where does sell come into play in the donate, trash, keep idea?
What was the question? Where does what?
Sell. So if you have your piles of donate, trash, keep.
Look stuff up on eBay or Facebook Marketplace. See what things are being listed for. If you really, really need the money, sell it if you can. Selling is hard. There really aren't many consignment shops. That's kind of a thing of the past because so many people will go on eBay and sell it, which is perfectly fine. Selling on eBay requires good time management skills. It requires that once it's sold, it's got to be in the box and it's got to be posted. So if money isn't an object, then I would say get the donation receipt.
Do people find it difficult to do the scheduling? Does it cause them more stress and less stress, or does
it can. You've got to work with your brain type, and if putting something on a calendar is going to set your teeth on edge, another thing you may want to do is get an accountability buddy. Just tell a friend, look, and that kind of has to go on the calendar. Say, hey, can you come over Thursday at 2? I want to work on some paperwork. That's a thing. It's an accountability buddy or a body buddy. And that person just comes over and they work on their own stuff. They read a magazine, they listen to music, but you have that body there. You won't jump up so quick. You won't just get bored and go, I can't do this anymore, because somebody is there to help you stay in your chair and get the work done.
The thing that people keep because they remind them of something, or it's a memory of something, but it really needs to go, is taking a picture of it and keeping that picture.
Sure. A lot of people will take pictures, and they'll do photo albums. A lot of parents hold on to all their kids' stuff, and I say, so here's a great tip for you. Put a long, flat Rubbermaid bin under the bed, and through the year, just throw it in there. At the end of the year, summer can't start until the bin is cleared. Pictures are taken on the stuff that has meaning. Everything is discarded, and the photos go to like Snapfish, and you get a book. So again, time consuming, but thoughtful, and it's something to do with your stuff. But the kids don't want their stuff.
Yeah,
that's a fact.
My mom's actually on this presentation. The kids don't want the stuff.
No. We want them to want it, but they don't. I mean, they don't. And every generation has their stuff. I don't understand why we think this generation has the best stuff and they should want it. You know, entertaining doesn't happen the way, I mean, there's so much that didn't happen the way it used to, and it's fine. It's fine. These are my grandma's platters from the old country. I'm not using them, and it's like everybody had platters. You know what makes? Okay, go ahead.
What's the one important point or example you could give to people if they want to start decluttering? The first most important step.
I think to get clear on what your challenges are going to be. I think that's the most important. Become clear on what your challenges are. Because if you're considering decluttering, that means you have clutter. That means that this hasn't been easy for you. So consider what kind of help you're going to need. What are your challenges? Is it your relationship to time? Is it your relationship to emotions? Is it you don't know how long it's going to take you to do stuff? But understand first and foremost what your challenges may be. And then my book, which this presentation is based on, is called Psychic Debris, Crowded Closets, the relationship between the stuff in your head and what's under your bed. And I recorded it last year on Audible. You can get it on a Kindle, and you can get a hard copy, well, a soft copy on Amazon. But it's this reinforcement of all of these concepts. And there's a lot on time. There's a lot on affirmations. There's a lot on challenging disorganization. But truly become curious about what you think curious and very honest about what you think your particular challenges are going to be.
Thank you, Dr. Lark. This was incredible. We really appreciate your time.
You're welcome.
Please visit jccchicago.org for more exciting and engaging programming. Thanks, everybody. Take care and be safe. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.